Are you a nervous Nelly right before you end up at a networking event? In today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how you can feel more confident when showing up to in-person networking events. My name is Katisha. I'm the founder of the Be Known Academy, and my job as a coach is to help you feel more confident, not only online with your LinkedIn branding, but also when you have to meet people at new events, which do go hand in hand. So in today's episode, I'm going to be taking you through what you should be doing before you go to an event, what you should be doing during an event, and a post-event to help you feel less anxious about going and make sure that you actually generate opportunities and leads, and it's not a whole waste of time for you. Let's talk about pre-event. So before you go to join an event or a networking group, it's really important that you firstly identify the reason as to why you're networking. And there could be a few different reasons, but it's important to know this because networking is definitely a long-term game plan, right? It's not something that you can expect to see instant or overnight results from. So I want you to consider a few factors. The reason why you're joining or wanting to go to the event, and it could be just for connection. It could be you're missing human connection and you want to build relationships and meet new people. Perhaps you're going because you do want to generate more leads or sales for your business, whatever the reason is, but I encourage you to get really clear on that first. From there, then you want to identify, well, who do you actually want to connect with? Because you want to make sure that you're going to the right events. So for instance, you might be a mortgage broker and you want to connect with more accountants or buyer's agents or financial planners because you find that they're good referral partners for you. Or perhaps you are a mortgage broker that specializes in helping people in the mining industry to get onto the property market. And if that's the case, you might actually want to go to some mining industry specific events because you've got a pool of people that are your ideal client. So get really clear on who it is you actually want to connect with, and then do your research. And there's lots of different websites that you can use to find events. You could use Meetup, you could use Eventbrite, LinkedIn, people share a lot of business networking events on there as well. And you want to do your research on the event. So reach out to the person who's organizing it and ask them a little bit about the event to make sure that it's actually the right place for you to be hanging out at first. Now let's talk about the day of the event. Now this is often where the nerves can come up, particularly if it's a new event that you've never been to before, maybe it's in an area that you've never ventured out to. So there's a few things that I want to leave with you to make you feel more confident to show up. The first thing that I want you to do is to wear something that makes you feel really confident. So for me personally, I love to dress to the nines because that's what makes me feel good. Maybe for you, it's wearing a bright colored tie or some funky socks or whatever it may be, but you want to make sure that you physically feel good in your body when you go to these events. That's the first one. The next one is where possible, bring somebody along with you because that can really help if you can bring a mate or a girlfriend along or a colleague to the event. It's going to really help you to reduce your nerves. As I mentioned before as well, connecting with the person who's hosting the event and letting them know, hey, you're going to be new, might maybe be a little bit nervous, and ask them to actually introduce you to people that are going to be at the event. Sometimes, but not all the time, events actually release a list of the people that are attending. And if you've got access to that list, it could be a good idea as well to go and connect with these people before you go to the event. So that way you've got some familiar faces. So connect with those people on LinkedIn. Now, once you actually get to the event itself, there's a few tips I have for you to make sure that you don't end up in any awkward situations. There's nothing worse like when you meet somebody and they're chewing your ear off, or maybe somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, or just weird stuff happens. So when you first get to the event, the first thing I want you to do is to go to the bar. The reason I say that is even if you don't drink alcohol, you want to go to the bar to get a drink because your drink is your escape card. So what I mean by that is if for some reason you're talking to somebody and you just can't get away, just down that drink, whether it's water, whether it's a beer, whatever it is, and then you can use that as an excuse to then go and get out of that conversation and get to the bar. The other thing that I encourage you to do is to try and find small groups of people that you can go over and introduce yourself to. Now, ideally what I do is I like to find groups of 3 and not necessarily 2. The reason being is sometimes when you see 2 people talking, they can be having quite an intimate conversation because it's one-on-one, and it can be a little bit awkward to then jump into that. So if you see a group of say 3 or 4, that's a little bit safer to go over there and instigate a conversation and meet people. Make sure as well, if you are going to form a group or congregate, shall we say, with a group of people, try your best to not get pinned up against the wall, because again, it makes it very awkward that if you want to be a savvy networker, which I hope you are, and you want to get around the room, it's a bit awkward when you get stuck up against a wall. So be really mindful of that. Now, you've walked over to this little group of people, you've got a drink in hand. Go and shake everybody's hand, introduce your name, and be curious about them and learn more about them. Please don't pitch anybody that you've just met at a networking event. It is really icky. You do not need to do that. Just speak like you would with a mate and just feel like you can be comfortable enough to be your authentic self. Talk about what it is you do and the problems you solve, but you don't need to be doing a hardcore pitch to somebody that you've just met. The other thing as well is you may decide to exchange business cards. I personally don't have business cards, but what I do is I actually just get people to connect with me on their LinkedIn, through the LinkedIn app. There's actually a really cool party trick with your LinkedIn app is if you go to the search engine of your app, in the top right-hand corner, there's a little QR code, and you can get somebody to scan your QR code on your LinkedIn profile, and then that automatically brings up your profile for them to connect with you. This is also really handy if you happen to forget somebody's name at a networking event, which I have been guilty of. If you're in this boat, you've just met Roger, and then 5 seconds later, you've forgotten Roger's name. When you get to the end of the conversation, you can say, hey, are you on LinkedIn by any chance? I would love to connect with you. Get them to bring up their profile and say, let me teach you a cool party trick, and click onto the little search engine and it'll bring up their QR code and you can scan that. Their profile will come up with their name. That tip has just saved your day. You're very welcome. Okay, so now you're feeling a bit more comfortable. You're getting around the room, you're getting to mingle, you're connecting with people. From here, post-event is really important. And I would say a good 95% of people that network just waste their time because they don't do the post-event follow-up. And you might be watching this and feeling a little bit guilty. Maybe you've been to the occasional drinking event, you've gone, you've had a good time, you've gotten a day off work, but then a week later you realize that you actually didn't get any real value from the event, and it's more than likely because you didn't actually re-engage with people that you did meet. So while you're collecting business cards or contact details or LinkedIn profiles, it's really important that the following days you do your follow-up. And then it doesn't need to be anything crazy. It could be just something as simple as sending them a message and saying, it was really great to meet you. I would love to reconnect with you next week. Have you got time for coffee, or whatever your sales process is from there, and book that in. So to recap what we spoke about, I want you to get really clear on the reason why you're networking. Then I want you to get clear on the type of people that you actually want to network with. Do your research and find the right events, because it does take a lot of energy to show up to these events, particularly if you've got to commute to them, maybe they're late at night. And so it's really important that you're going to the right ones. Speak to the person organizing the event to make sure that you are in the right room, and ask them to introduce you to people. When you go to the event, wear something you feel really confident in. Make sure you go to the bar, grab that drink as your get out of jail free card, right? This is what you use when you need to get out of awkward situations. Make sure you're not pitching people when you first meet them at these events. Just be cool, calm, collected. Be more interested than interesting. So get to learn the other person more instead of just verbal diarrhea telling everybody your whole life story. And then from there, make sure that you are doing your follow-up and you're reconnecting with people post-event. These are my tips to have you feeling really confident when you are showing up to these events. And just remember that there's a good chance that 70, 80, 90% of the room are also equally feeling nervous. Keep that in mind and just know that you're not alone. But the more events you go to, the more confident you'll feel. Now, if you aren't already following me on LinkedIn, please send me a connection request on there and let me know how you have found these episodes. We are nearly at the end of this 10-part series. We have got one more episode to go. And I just want to say thank you so much for sticking it out all the way to the end. I hope you've gotten lots of value. And in the next episode, what I'm going to be taking you through is the entire game plan from A to Z on how you can turn a stranger on LinkedIn into a paying client. Can't wait to see you on the next episode.